New England, 1630s, the air is thick, laden with a bone-chilling cold and a silence that whispers omens. William, a preacher with a fiery gaze and unwavering faith, drags his family into exile. His wife Catherine, with an exhausted face but clinging to devotion, and their 5 children: Thomasin, with an uneasy gaze; Caleb, a boy with a noble but curious heart; the twins Mercy and Jonas, restless and mocking; and little Samuel, a baby of just weeks old, are expelled from their Puritan community. William's crime: an extremism that interprets the Word of God as an unyielding mandate, inflexible in the face of others' lukewarmness. With little more than their faith and a few tools, the family settles at the edge of an ancient forest, a place where the trees seem to whisper secrets and the shadows stretch like eager fingers. William dreams of a humble life, working the land and raising livestock, but the forest watches them, patient, like a lurking beast. The land is harsh, the sky relentless, and the feeling of isolation begins to weave cracks in their hearts. One day, in a field where the wind carries laments, Thomasin takes care of little Samuel. She plays peekaboo, covering her eyes with a laugh that tries to chase away the oppression of the place, but when she removes her hands, the baby has disappeared. There is no crying, no trace, just the emptiness and the echo of her own quickened breath. Desperation takes hold of her as she scans the grass, the bushes, the horizon. Samuel has vanished as if the earth itself had claimed him. In the twilight of the forest, a hunched figure drags the child, still unbaptized, towards a cabin hidden among twisted roots. She is a witch, a creature with ashen skin and eyes that shine with ancient malice. With a ritual knife, she sacrifices the little one, grinding his remains to create an ointment that smells of decay and power. The forest keeps its secret, but its influence begins to seep through, like a slow poison. The tragedy tears the family apart. Catherine, shattered by the loss, is engulfed in a grief that consumes her. She spends the nights on her knees, praying with desperate fervor, while tears streak her gaunt face. Her eyes, once full of love, now brim with distrust, especially towards Thomasin, whom she silently blames. Caleb, caught between faith and doubt, wonders if his brother's soul, without baptism, is condemned to limbo. The twins, Mercy and Jonas, hum children's rhymes that sound increasingly sinister, as if the forest had taught them new songs. The distrust grows like a plague. William, in a desperate act to obtain hunting traps, secretly sells Catherine's silver cup, a family treasure she guards jealously. When she discovers its absence, Catherine points to Thomasin, convinced that the girl is guilty not only of this but also of Samuel's disappearance. The accusations fall like blows. "What have you done, girl? What do you have with you?" Thomasin, hurt and furious, struggles to maintain control over the twins, who mock her and disobey incessantly. In a moment of frustration, she threatens them with a dark tale. "I am a witch, and I made Samuel disappear." The words, said in a fit of anger, pierce like daggers into the minds of the little ones, who look at her with eyes full of fear and fascination. That night, the air in the cabin is thick, laden with whispers and reproaches. The twins, hidden under a blanket, eavesdrop on an argument between William and Catherine. The words are like knives. "What if we send Thomasin to the colony? She could serve in a house, bring in some money." The idea of being exiled, of being torn from her family, hits Thomasin like a sentence. Her heart beats with anger and fear, but also with a strange determination. Under the pale light of the moon, Thomasin discovers Caleb getting ready to leave. He carries a horse and a lantern, ready to check a trap in the forest. Something in his gaze, a mix of courage and fear, drives her to follow him. "You won't go alone," she murmurs, and together they venture into the thicket. The forest engulfs them, its branches creaking like muffled laughter, and the air grows colder, heavier. Suddenly, a hare emerges among the trees, its eyes glowing like embers. Caleb, driven by urgency, chases it with the family dog, leaving Thomasin behind. The horse, terrified by a smell she cannot perceive, rears up and knocks her down. Her head hits the ground, and darkness claims her. Caleb, lost in the underbrush, moves forward alone. The forest seems alive, its shadows twisting, and the howl of the wind carries an echo that is not natural. He finds the dog, eviscerated and dying, its blood staining the ground. The horror paralyzes him. But before he can scream, a cabin appears among the trees, as if it had been waiting for him. From her door emerges a woman, young and with hypnotic beauty, with a smile that promises warmth and refuge. "You're lost, little one," she whispers, approaching. Caleb, captivated by her charm, does not see the danger. She kisses him, and for an instant, everything is calm. But then, a withered, bony arm emerges from the shadows and envelopes him, squeezing with inhuman strength. The forest remains silent, but its hunger is far from being satisfied. The family, fractured by loss and suspicion, does not know that the true evil has yet to show its face. The forest waits, and its secrets are about to be unleashed. Dawn brings William back, carrying an unconscious Thomasin in his arms, her pale face stained with dirt and dried blood. The cabin, once a refuge, now seems like a tomb. Catherine, with eyes reddened by tears and rage, lunges at her daughter as she barely wakes up, shouting with a voice that tears through the air, "Damn you, girl, it's your fault Caleb is lost." The words are poison, and Thomasin, dazed, can barely defend herself. The tension breaks when William, with a trembling voice, confesses his own sin. "It was me, Catherine. I sold your silver cup." The silence that follows is heavier than any scream, but it brings no peace, only a fragile truce between mother and daughter. That night, the storm lashes the cabin with fury, as if the sky itself were enraged. And the torrential rain, a staggering figure emerges from the forest. It's Caleb, naked, with skin as pale as death and glassy eyes, murmuring incoherent words. He falls into William's arms, trembling, while a strange stench, like decay and sulfur, envelopes him. They take him inside, but his presence brings with it a shadow that seems to cling to the walls. The following days are a descent into hell. The harvest, which William works on with bleeding hands, inexplicably withers, the plants rot in the ground, and the air smells of mold and despair. The twins, Mercy and Jonas, scamper around the family's black goat, Black Philip, whispering to him as if sharing a dark secret. Their childish laughter mingles with skin-crawling chants, and their eyes shine with a malice that does not belong to them. They accuse Thomasin of witchcraft, pointing at her with trembling fingers. "She is the witch. She killed Samuel." Thomasin, exhausted by the suspicions, tries to milk a goat in front of the children to prove her innocence, but from the udders comes not milk, but thick, hot blood that stains her hands. The twins laugh, and the sound is like an echo from the forest. Caleb, lying on a cot, gets worse. One night, his body convulses, and a bitten apple, shiny and out of place, comes out of his mouth, as if someone, or something, had placed it there. Catherine, desperate, gathers the family to pray. The words of the Our Father fill the cabin, but the twins, with pale faces, claim not to remember them. Suddenly, they fall to the ground, writhing in convulsions, their screams mingling with laughter that doesn't seem human. In the midst of the chaos, Caleb rises, his face illuminated by a strange light, with a voice that is not his own. He invokes Christ and his love in a feverish ecstasy, his eyes shining with an unnatural devotion. Then, with a sigh, her body collapses, lifeless. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the crackling of the fire and the accelerated beating of hearts. The cabin becomes a battlefield. The twins point at Thomasin, screaming that she is a witch, while she, with tears of rage, accuses them of having made a pact with the demon disguised as Black Phillip. I saw it in their eyes. They talked to him as if he were their master. The words ignite a spark of doubt in William and Catherine, but the scales tip against Thomasin. William, with a hardened face, declares, "They will judge you in the city, Thomasin. May God decide your fate." Wounded, the girl turns against her father, her voice trembling with fury. "And you, father? Do you think your lies don't condemn you? You left me to bear the guilt of a mother." Furious and broken by confusion, William drags Thomasin and the twins to the barn, locking them in with the goats in the rain. Then, alone in the cabin, he falls to his knees and confesses his sin to God. "It was not faith that brought me here, but pride. I have failed my family." In the barn, the air is humid and oppressive. Thomasin, huddled in a corner, asks the twins in a low voice, "Did you talk to Black Phillip? What did he say to you?" They don't respond, their eyes fixed on the darkness, as if they were hearing something she couldn't. Later, a creak wakes them up. A hunched figure, an old woman with a sunken face, is there, drinking blood from a goat's udder. Her laughter is a blood-curdling caw, and when Thomasin screams, the figure disappears, leaving only the echo of its presence. Meanwhile, in the cabin, Catherine has a vision. Samuel and Caleb are in front of her, smiling, their faces angelic. They offer her a black book, whispering promises of peace. With tears in her eyes, she signs, believing it is the will of God. Then, she cradles Samuel, offering him her breast to soothe his cries. But it is not a child that he sucks. A raven, with bright eyes and a sharp beak, wounds her chest, tearing flesh while she smiles, trapped in her delirium. The cabin, the barn, the forest, everything is imbued with an evil that breathes, waits, and prepares to reclaim what remains of the family. The next morning, the father finds the small barn destroyed, Thomasin unconscious, the goats dismembered, and the twins vanished into thin air. Suddenly, he is rammed several times by the ram and dies. Thomasin, upon rushing to help her father, is attacked by Catherine, who is now out of her mind, and, in self-defense, she strikes her with a hoe, killing her. Left completely alone and without hope for the future, she decides to speak with the goat, who turns out to be the devil, who seduces her, with promises of wonderful novelties and pleasures, finally persuading her to sign the cursed manuscript. Deprived of all her clothes and faith, the girl heads to the forest, and there she finds a congregation of witches dancing around the fire. When all the witches rise into the air, Thomasin, seized by an unsettling euphoria, begins to levitate as well.